Hi guys, hi Alex. Um, Today I'd like to talk about martial arts. Uh, as me and Alex have mentioned, we're both martial artists, so I just thought I'd go through my first, I'd say, 5 years of martial arts experience. Um, at this point, I think I'm in year 10. I believe I'm in year 10, maybe coming up to year 11. Um, so it's just nice to reminisce for me, and I'll try and put a few photos up, um, so at least you've got some visual stimulation while I'm doing it. So I've always wanted to do martial arts. I suppose with a little bit of background, my dad's done martial arts since he was about 20, I believe, maybe a little bit younger than that. And my uncle also does martial arts, mainly edged on by my dad because he's about 6 years younger. So I believe my uncle started doing it when he was about 14. Um, and they did numerous different martial arts until they got into Shotorayu karate, which they sort of spend the last sort of 30 years doing. Um, Along with that, they've got very much into Tai Chi and namely Long Yang and Chen, which but they sort of bastardized it, so it's um, I suppose in their world more effective. So they've almost sort of got their own martial arts within the karate, Tai Chi uh, sort of industry or styles, which to me seems to be really effective. But anyway, so growing up, of course, you don't want to do what your parents do. You don't want to be influenced by your parents. So, I didn't, as much as I wanted to. Something in me sort of stopped me from doing it, which I heartily regret. I've got a distant memory from when I was probably about 6 or 7, when my dad took me to a judo club, to possibly get me and my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, um, into judo, or at least practicing some sort of martial art. And my brother didn't want to do it; he wasn't interested, but I was. I was really interested, but I think because my brother didn't want to do it, and I had some doubts within, I suppose it was my confidence as a kid, I just didn't do it. I said I didn't want to do it. Although inside me I ached, I just wanted to be a part of it and to learn something um, martial art related. So many years down the line, always been influenced by my dad doing karate and practicing moves on me throughout my childhood. Uh, in a safe way, not in not in a full contact, knock me out sort of thing, but more of just practicing little moves and things like that, which I quite enjoyed. Being lightly beaten up by my dad from time to time. So it rolls around, hit 20, I've gone out of college, I'm in my sort of, I suppose, coming into a proper job, my first job in the optics industry. I was doing some maternity cover, so I was working 3 days a week. I was living with my parents, so don't have to worry about bills or anything like that. It's just purely pocket money. And again, I still enjoyed watching martial art films and talking to my dad about stuff. Again, just never really did it. At this time, my dad, we'd moved location from when I was 6. So my dad didn't have a club anymore, but he would go and travel for karate conferences and seminars and things like that around the country, depending on where his club was holding it at that particular time. Um, so anyway, I was in my first job, had a bit of cash, and I was walking to work, or I think I was at lunch, and they had a fair. They had a big market fair on, and there's a few martial art clubs, and they had just lots of businesses trying to just get some interest and to talk to people. So I was there just going to grab a sandwich, and this person sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Can I talk to you about martial arts?" And so I did, and we had a good long chat, and I sort of signed up for a taster lesson, and that sort of was the start of my journey. Um, of course, I could have seeked it out a little bit sooner, and I think nowadays my mentality is, I go and look for opportunities, not wait for them to come to me. But this particular thing, I was in the right place at the right time, the right stage of my life to just sort of say, yes, I'll come in, I'll come in. So I arranged the whatever day to come in, etc., etc., and went in and started training, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved the exercise. Loved the the punching, kicking, that sort of thing. Although I can say, hands up, I was certainly not a natural. I've never been a naturally sporty person, but I absolutely loved it. So I decided to sign up, and this was a club which, they had classes every day except for Sundays, I think it was. So every single evening you could go and train. Um, so with that, they had, their membership was more expensive than the average club, and you know that's something when I look back on, it's good in some respects, and in others it almost, you always think, or is it worth the money? So looking back at it, I would say it was worth the money, just because of the people I met and the experiences I had and the growing I did within that establishment. It was, yeah, it was a good time while it lasted. So I was at this club for 5 years. So people might be wondering what style it was or anything like that. Um, and I can say it was, well, they described it as freestyle martial arts. So within it was a couple of curriculums. You first of all, you had your sort of kickboxing. There's lots of different styles of kickboxing, but this particular one was sort of more of a point system freestyle. So it was very quick, very agile, rather than full contact, hard hitting, you know fighting. It was more of a get to your opponent first, and with your speed comes your power, rather than trying to generate power in other means. Because there are lots of different means to do that, as I now know. But at the time, it's purely, it was more of a high agility sport rather than anything else. Is the way I'd describe it. But within that, we had sparring, a sparring club within the club. So people who were particularly wanted to compete and wanted to, learn to fight, how to fight that way, could do so. At the time, they had sort of an urban fighting thing. So if multiple people are attacking you, what's the best way to defend yourself? Or, although you may not win, what's the best way of protecting yourself? Which was fun. And we also had some weapons training. So we had a thing called Modern Arnis, which is with 2 sticks, which are probably about that wide, which you sort of could block off several different weapons and parry and block, which then also came into similar moves, and the way I found it, it increased my speed when it came to my hand fighting. So that was really fun as well. And we also had a fitness thing, we had a circuit training thing. So me being me, I just went up for everything. I was there almost every single day, most of the time. Like I said, at the time, I didn't have any bills to pay or anything like that. I was, I was living with my parents. So there was, literally, I worked so I could train. And that's all I did, really, for a good 4 or 5 years. Like I say, my experience wholly was a very, very positive one. It went sour near the end. So I'll go through that, I guess. So to conclude how it ended. So at the end of the 5 years, I got injured effectively. I was doing one too many spinning jump kicks or whatever, and I ended up damaging my back, my lower back. It's my fault. I was doing silly moves and hadn't warmed up properly, etc. And it's just right at the lower part of my back, and the muscles just tensed too much, so the rest of my back couldn't flex, and that caused me, a lot of discomfort. So I ended up seeing a chiropractor a couple of times, and I just couldn't get to training. So I asked them, and I said, look, for the next 3, 4, 5 months, I'm not going to be able to train as I usually do. Is it okay if I pay a little bit less because I'm not getting to all these classes, just as a temporary measure until my back is better, and then I can go back to full training? And effectively they said no. Even though I'd been there 5 years, they said no. Doesn't matter, and I think it got to that point where I just thought, well, I'm injured, you're not willing to do anything for me. So I've got one option, and that is to cancel everything, pay whatever dues I owe them, and go. And it was a sad time, and I was quite upset at the time. But it happened at the right time, I think. When you've been to the same place for 5 years consistently, and at the time my life was changing as well. So when I look back on it, it was a bit rubbish, but better things were to come. Let's put it that way. So I'll add that into the next martial arts video for the latest 5 years, which is a lot has happened in the last 5 years regarding my martial arts life. So this is where it goes down into the lesson portion. So I've just told you sort of my rough story of how I got into martial arts. So really what I want to say to you all is I regret not doing it earlier. So if any of you are under 20 and you're don't have the confidence to speak out that you want to do it, just do it. Call them up. Most instructors would be, and senseis would be happy to hear from you and happy to get a new person in. Most clubs are extremely welcoming, and it's always the people who want to learn martial arts aren't always brutes. They aren't always people who want to hurt others. Especially in the experience I had at this particular club, it was fantastic. Everyone was lovely, and we tended to find that if someone didn't share the values of everyone else, they tended to leave, or at least the instructors wouldn't have any of that nonsense in there. So I'd say go for it. Just do it. If you want to do it and it will make you happy, you'll find a way. So like I said, I do not regret those 5 years I had at that martial arts school. All the experiences I had, all the growing I did, and all the people I met, it was a fantastic time in my life. And I think about it and look back on it fondly. It's also where I met my mate Alex as well. So without that club, I wouldn't have met Alex, and that would have affected my life as well. So even though the memory is slightly bittersweet because of how it ended, I can say I have been back into there to support Alex actually when he got his black belt in the freestyle martial arts, and I was welcome. People were very friendly and welcomed me back and said hi, and I was even offered to come back and train again if I wanted. Like I said, my life had changed a lot more since then, so that's I couldn't, or I wasn't willing to. But it was nice to be asked, and these things happen in life for a reason. So I'll leave you. I'll leave you with that. Hopefully, you've all stayed tuned till the end. Um, you know, this is only a small part of my story and just sort of the basics. But I thought it's actually quite a nice thing to talk about today on a Sunday, on a sunny Wednesday afternoon. Anyway, guys, please, if you've got any questions about martial arts or the style I did or anything really, I'm happy to answer it. Please give us a like, ring the bell, comment, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.